You both enter a deep sleep, waking occasionally with a pang of thirst or hunger. With your personal larder in the room, it's easy to sate your stomach and succumb back to the rest your body demands. Each time you wake, you see your companion sleeping, the traps undisturbed, and the night sky unchanged. Without the daytime sun, you have no idea if you're sleeping minutes, hours, or days. Finally, you both wake around the same time and feel, for the first time since you arrived, like you've given your body what it needed. You truly have no idea how much time has passed, but you feel rejuvenated as if from a single night's rest. Wounds have
Oh,
scabbed over. Orryn, you feel reconnected to your source of magic. Mechanically, you have the benefits of a long rest. You are now awake, you still have the ring, and it seems like there is no change to the world outside from when you got here.
out of paranoia, Diley would have occasionally dragged herself out to the wall and listened for the shadows to make sure they were still basically protected by the patrols, but other than that, she would have slept. We confirmed we are still level 10. Diley sits up and stretches luxuriantly, looking drowsy but amazed. Would you believe I don't feel like complete shit? Actually, scratch that. I kind of feel like I could kick the world's ass. And like I should wash my face.
Orrin sits up, stretches, and cracks his fingers. Hell yeah, I would, Dilute. He smiles. I've got my magic back.
Wow, Diley mutters. So running and hiding ain't the worst strategy. Who knew? But there's no real bite in it, and she smirks at him. That's the best news I've heard since there's cheese here. Diley does indeed wash her face, and now that she's a little more awake and a lot less panicked, clean up as much as she can without taking off her armor, just so she feels like a little bit less of a gremlin. She'll also put up her hair and refill her water skin from the water barrels.
Orrin cleans up as well, and after they've gotten themselves tidied up a bit, sits down and focuses on the ring. Hi, Epic.
Still no answer.
He's still not talking, Dilute. Back to Epic. I was hoping you'd be more open to being cordial. Can we not find neutral ground to discuss the transfer of this object?
Well, he did warn us that he'd been given Alton the silent treatment. Tyler was checking all her equipment and packing up some food for later. He probably still thinks he can wait us out. He knows killing you is our last resort.
Given the change in our situation, how do you feel about facing him now?
Facing? Maybe not. Killing? Better.
If I had a way of getting us out of here, but it meant we get no info from Epic and we leave behind the Warforged, what would you say?
She raises her eyebrows and comes to sit facing him. I'd like to hear it.
He looks down at the ring. No. But hypothetically, what would you say?
She pinches the bridge of her nose. Can you write it down?
He does the same. Dilute, I just need to know if you are okay with or against at some point leaving without new info and without the prisoners, and with you getting more info before anything actually happened. I would have thought for someone who talks to Thane the way you do so often, you'd appreciate what I'm trying to do here.
I want to just state for the record that I completely missed that line. I
Oh no.
completely did not read that until we had exported this as an HTML doc. So that's why Dilute doesn't respond to that at all.
Oh my god.
Tyler lifts one shoulder in a shrug. Like I said, it could be the prisoners are already dead. I want to help them if we can, but we can't afford to die for it. And I don't think the odds of Epic telling us anything are good anyway. Frankly, if you've got a way for us to leave, we should consider doing that instead of fighting him at all. If we get that ring back to the prime material plane, he's dead.
Jared, if I have my spell slots back.
Yes.
I've got one more card to play. It could open him up to talk or shut down our ability to get anything from him at all.
We can't shut it down much more than we already have, so no harm in trying. Dilute gives him a look. Unless we need to walk into his house and serve ourselves up on a platter to play this card of yours.
No, it would be here. He pauses for a moment, thinking to himself, and then nods. All right, here goes. Epic, I have bad news. You've waited too long, and we no longer need your help to leave this place. This is your last chance to offer something of worth, or we are leaving.
There is no response.
Okay, still nothing. Here's my plan. I can banish us. We aren't from this plane, so the effect should be permanent and send us back to the prime material. If I pump a little more power into it, I can banish us at the same time, but I can't guarantee we will end up together. That second part, we're going to skip ahead because we had to establish some rules for how banishment was going to work when cast on yourself. Or I thought we could, because the way it works is if I banish somebody and I lose concentration, they pop back in. And so I was like, I can banish us, but if I don't like where we are, I'll just drop concentration and we'll come right back here. And Jared was like, no, this is going to be a one-way trip. If you banish yourself, you will be in the prime material, but you'll be stuck there.
I think that makes sense, yeah.
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 Yep.
Tyler purses her lips. If you can't guarantee we'd end up together, can you guarantee we'd end up, like, outside of a volcano? Not that I'm having any doubts about your magical prowess. Jared confirms that we will not end up in a volcano.
Yeah.
I'm trying to decide if us ending up on Umalara is better or worse than where we're sitting now. Upside, we'd be alive, and we'd be able to get rid of Epic the first time we found someone worth killing. Downside, there's not a whole lot of places we could go and expect to find the others again, and I'm stuck on that one. She scratches her head. Do you think you could pull it off in a pinch?
I don't know if it'll, or I know it'll be somewhere. I know it'll be somewhere safe, but other than that, it could be anywhere. We could end up in Umalara on the fleet, or in this room in Kronos, and pull off what?
Banishing us. Could you do it in the middle of a fight?
Oh yeah, for sure. I feel like finding the Frost Daggers wouldn't be too difficult. We know we left them with the fleet, and we know Vane will tell them their name wherever they go. I've never banished two things. My only hope is that doing it at the same time teleports them together, but I have no idea.
That's if we don't wind up in the middle of nowhere. It could take us months to get back to them. She looks nervous about something. And it's assuming they stick to the plan and head to Roden.
One thing I know for sure is they aren't going to Roden without us. Their attention is going to be on finding us 100%. We do that for them.
Tyler looks all the more anxious for that. Then we'd have to find a ship willing to take us to the middle of the ocean in this storm. And hope our friends don't come here and get killed in the meantime. Also, she's nervous about this because she's worried that the others will refuse to go to Roden and Thane will leave by himself. And that happened. She shakes her head. I'm not saying it's a terrible idea, but it sounded more and more like a second to last resort to me. I know I said it'd be easy to kill Epic once we got back to the prime material plane earlier, but I just remembered that we glued the ring to your finger.
No.
So that's challenging.
Not really. I'm just planning on cutting off that finger. I made peace with that when I poured the glue. And the chances of us reaching out to them in a way they can hear is 1,000,000 times more likely on our own plane than here. And if we do manage to kill Epic, we have to do this anyways. And if we don't kill Epic, we still have to trust that he sends us someplace nice.
Tyler chews on her lip. We can't really kill Epic while his soul's in the ring anyway, can we?
Probably not, no.
She sprawls on her back and stares at the ceiling. Do you really think there's a chance they could come for us here? I would have thought there was no way, but if there is, we could wait, or try to figure out some way to help the King of Roads cut Epic off from his power source. What would happen if we forced him to leave the estate?
I think the way we do that is kick him out of here. And as far as them finding us here, I wouldn't put anything past the Frost Daggers, but this was a random fluke destination from a malfunctioning spell. And plain magic in general is some pretty heavy stuff. Nothing against Vinaya, but I can only do it randomly, and I just don't know.
She nods, looking dispirited. It's not like we've got forever here, and I don't even know how long it's been now. I do mean it, though. Why is Epic stuck at the estate, if he is? Maybe it's something to do with how he's getting his power.
Well, he is trapped in the ring. He wouldn't be very trapped if he could go where he wanted. Not that there's anywhere he'd want to go in this place. Or maybe he's afraid. Those things out hunting didn't seem to like the shadow people out there.
Why that estate? What's it got to do with the ring? He wasn't even in this city when you killed him. Tyler's only sort of talking to him and partially to herself. There's got to be something. I have no weaknesses sounds like something somebody with a weakness would say.
100%. And I'm not leaving because I don't want to sound... Oh, 100%. and not leaving because I don't want to sound pretty weak as well. Sounds. Gotcha. Rewind. 100%, and not leaving because I don't want to. Sounds pretty weak as well. Punctuation, past Devin. God. I'm just not sure which would be a higher priority, dealing with this now or getting out.
We've got a little bit more leeway now. Maybe enough to get more information. Dilue gets to her feet abruptly, restless. We have a way to kill him, we have a way out, and as long as we stick together, I think it's worth the risk to try to stop him. We don't know how much more power he could gain here. You were here before. Where else could we look? Anywhere to do with magic or the God Kings or smoke work? Anything?
Not that I remember, really. The big smokework agent here was epic. The big info place was Kincaid's library. He chuckles. Though oddly kept us from really utilizing that at the time. There was the Order of Law, but they were basically just the city guards, so I'm not sure if there's anything we could find. And then I asked Jared, I was gone at the end of the arc, so was there anything that Orryn would know that Devin missed?
Dilue starts pacing. Did he have a base of operations? Where did you encounter him? Jared,
That's fair.
I messaged Jared, what about Gran? And then Jared said, Gran.
Mm.
Yeah, so when Jared mentions Grand, Orryn's eyes widen. Dilue, I have the stupidest long shot that I can't believe I haven't thought of until now. We have places we should check for epic stuff for sure, but there's also old Gran. And Orryn takes some time to run through who Gran is and the purchasing of items for deals.
So, a weird old lady who worked with Smokework at some point? Dilue is nodding along, perking up now that they have some leads. It sounds worth investigating. Let's do that and retrace his steps.
She was a seemingly very powerful, amoral middleman. Yeah. I doubt we'll find anything there, but it's definitely worth a shot. And then to the Smokework hideout. He's looking way more jazzed than he has in a couple of days.
All right. We move as quietly as possible. I'd rather let Epic think we're holed up somewhere hiding from him. And we don't know if the things out there report to him. She checks over her gear once more, then heads out towards the roof. Just again, Dilue doesn't think Epic can hear all this. Just for reference.
Let's go. And Orryn leads Dilue. Lets Dilue lead, but directs her to where he remembers Grant shopping.
Leaving the same way as before, grappling over the wall, and then just following Orryn's directions and keeping an eye out for any clusters of undead. If it ever starts to look dicey, she would make Orryn pause while she scouts for a safe route, trying to stay unseen.
Let's see. So apparently we're pausing to let the other group catch up.
Sorry,
There are
yes.
questions about Arcana.
I asked Jared,
Mhm.
do I know what would happen to a soul in the ring if the ring was destroyed?
Yeah, in the prime material plane, the soul inside would die. But seeing as we are not in the material plane and in fact a place where dead things go, who knows?
I don't know if we want to get into this here, but I didn't think that was the answer Jared gave us.
Who knows is the answer that says you need to do research, and then we did research on it with Winter to get the actual detailed response for that.
Okay. Anyway, sorry, carry on.
The two of you make your way quietly towards Grand's shop. It's getting a lot harder to move through the city without being spotted, so it takes you several hours to get there, leaving time to move through buildings and narrow alleys and occasionally backtracking to avoid dense area. When you arrive, you find that Grand's shop is still visible from the street. Unlike the other buildings, which appear mostly like their prime material counterparts with a skew towards a more gothic style, Grand's little shop door has exploded outwards with thick roots and vines that crawl across the street and up neighboring shop stalls. The vegetation looks dead, and it appears there is still a narrow opening of a doorway in the center of it, from which you can see a small light spill.
Well, Dilue says, that's different. She glances at Orryn, tightens her grip on her daggers, and starts for the shop front. Different means information.
Ooh,
Agreed.
can I do
Let's
Gran?
check it out.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Go for it.
Yes.
And then I asked a clarifying question for Jared if it seems like there are more undead everywhere, like they're out in force hunting us, or if we're just heading into an area where they're gathered more densely.
They don't seem to be seeking you specifically, but it is denser everywhere than when you arrived.
And in that case, Diley wouldn't hesitate to go through the door.
Inside Gran's shop is crowded with roots growing over the already claustrophobic stacks of goods. The two of you barely squeeze inside together. You don't see any sign of Gran, and all the supplies are buried under the roots.
Orryn calls out to Gran in mind and voice and tries to start cutting through roots where he remembers items were before.
Well, it looks like anything we can unearth is free. Diley will help him cut through the roots.
I'm not expecting much more than rusted junk. Gran didn't seem the kind to let stuff slip through her fingers, but it would probably be a mistake not to check.
Maybe there's stuff like the ring in here. You know, things that are halfway.
That's a good point. You were able to pick out Elfin last time. Can you check and see if you feel anyone in here?
On that thought, Diley will also cast Detect Thoughts and try to sense for any minds nearby. I suppose the kind of resonance she picked up in Alphen's tower.
Orryn is cutting through the roots, making notches, but not much progress on the overgrowth. It might take an axe to really cut these away. At the same time, Dilue picks up on a clear presence. The voice of an old woman says,
Please tell your friend to stop cutting away at me. And tell him he's looking well for everything he's been through since I last saw him.
Dilue's eyes widen. She had been going to help Orryn with his task, but hastily stops. Wait, cut it out. I mean, don't cut it. She says you look good. She's the plants? As she's saying this, she looks around at the dead-looking vegetation in confusion. Are you the plants, ma'am?
The old woman answers with a relaxed voice.
I've meddled with so many magical trinkets over the years, I can't say for sure what I am anymore. I'm here, at least.
Oh, and you're on the same plane as us?
This, for reference, the dialogue is coming from Detect Thoughts. But obviously you can hear Dilue's half. She answers,
I can see you here in this shadow plane. I can see my real shop, too, and the creatures prowling there.
Orryn stops cutting and backs away. Oh, shit.
Do you know where we are exactly? Dilue's mind is racing. Sorry, a lot of questions. Did that happen to you, the plantification? Is that why you're plants?
What happened to me isn't what happened to everyone. But as I said, that may be due more to what I am, or was. But these creatures, what's left of the people who survived here, or there, from your perspective, that came from the spell bomb, poor things. If I had to guess where you are, death everywhere, eternal night, a reflection of our world. It looks like the Shadowfell, dearie.
She says we're in the Shadowfell. Poor things. Didn't you help do this to them? And we asked what we would know about the Shadowfell, and confirmed that Orryn is trained in Arcana and Religion, and Dilue is trained in neither and has a -1 to both. So Jared gave us this answer.
right. Orryn knows that the Shadowfell is a plane associated with all the forces of death and darkness. It is not evil, but plenty of evil things choose to live there. It is tied to the creation of the prime material plane, similar to the Feywild. It may be inherent to creation, somehow required for the prime material plane to exist. Diley was pretty sure it's another name for hell, which it is not.
Imagine that Dilue looked very spooked when relaying that info then.
Think Feywild after dark. Not inherently evil, just a shady part of town where the thugs like to hang out. Still not good, but not the worst place we could have ended up.
Diley also knows jack shit about the Feywild, aside from that 1, it's Echo's house, and 2, Bane was tortured there, so this does not particularly reassure her, but she takes his word for it.
Orryn turns to the plan. Hey, Gran. Nice to see you. So you wouldn't have anything in your shop powerful enough to get us out of here, would you? We were able to pull this ring off of a powerful dwarf named Althin, and seeing as you happen to be riding the line between here and there as well, we were hoping you might be able to pull that trick again. Orryn looks at Dilue for a response. Or a way to make a double target banishment spell send both targets to the same place.
Dilue is still waiting to hear Gran express some regret over all those dead plantified civilians, to be honest, but she also nods along with Orryn's questions.
Gran sounds somber.
When I give a sword to an adventurer so they can slay a dragon, I say a prayer for the dragon. Yes, I carry responsibility for this. For them.
She goes on.
You can tell Orryn that I doubt you'll find anything here, nor could I pass you anything from there. I don't know now what trick you pulled with that ring. The teleportation, that might be workable, but Orryn knows how my pricing works. This would be a great debt. Unconditional repayment would be required.
Oh, you are in a hell of a position to talk about repayment. Given any thought to how you'll repay all this? Dilue gestures to everything.
Orryn looks at Dilue and raises an eyebrow. Repayment?
She shoots him a look. She might be able to do something about the teleportation for a great debt, which is quite the price considering what she did with your last debt.
Oh, excellent. He turns back to the plan. What did you have in mind?
Gran keeps a sweet tone as she chastises you.
Let's keep our tempers low here. No one in this room has a pristine past. Recriminations get us nowhere.
She thinks a moment.
Tell Orryn the payment will be certified by a guarantee. He likes to think about workarounds, I remember. This one will be insured against his life, guaranteed by enchantment, and repayable at any time in the future I deem it necessary.
Nice try. You gave Smokework the means to kill tens of thousands of people. Dilue's voice is flat and matter of fact. She keeps her voice low, if not her temper. Unless you've got some means of guaranteeing that your bargain won't involve mass murder this time, we're not making a deal with you.
Hey, what did she say?
Hang on, Orryn. Can't listen and talk at the same time.
Yes, but you also can't turn down a deal on my behalf.
Gran is silent.
I can turn it down on our behalf if the person offering it plans to use you to give Smokework another weapon. Diley waits a second. Grand.
I'd rather not cast detect thoughts myself in here, but I can do it if things are going to get difficult. What did she offer?
Before I answer that, one question. By difficult, do you mean I disagree with you?
No, but at least give me the info and let's discuss before you shut her down.
Diley gives him an I'm gonna hold you to that look and relays the terms.
Well, that depends on what the payment is. He turns back to Gran. Please excuse her curtness. We have had quite a go of it here, and she doesn't have the best experience with deals. Say I was willing to accept the terms, hypothetically. Will this be an open-ended favor situation, or do you have something specific in mind?
Nothing in mind just yet. I'm still growing accustomed to what I might need in my current form. I'm also not sure yet if I would have any interesting patrons in the future, and what they might need.
Diley relays this in clipped tones, then asks, And might those patrons involve Smokework Gran or anyone else who wants to end life as we know it?
She doesn't answer.
Funny. She ain't got anything to say about that.
She's on no one's side, Dilue. Not evil, not good. It's not great, but it's also not new. He turns back to the plant. No offense. Gran, what if I could turn you back? Undo this whole Maid of Violence business.
Tell Orryn he doesn't have to be negotiating all the time. Poor dear, his little blue heart always working so hard. Not everything has angles. If he truly believed his little philosophy of letting things go, he wouldn't try to control them all the time.
Oh, Gran says, tell Orryn he doesn't have to be negotiating all the time. Poor dear. His little blue heart always working so hard. Not everything has angles. If he truly believed his little philosophy of letting things go, he wouldn't try to control them all the time.
Orrin chuckled. No games. It was just a thought. I just thought it... Again, sorry. No games. I just thought it would be mutually beneficial to have you as you were and something I thought you might be interested in. A friend of mine has made a way to undo this curse for a select number of people. If that were an option, would you be interested? If not, no hard feelings, and we can discuss your original offer.
Diley will remember this.
This was the part where we can go through it actually, because I want AJ to know.
Okay. Orryn, do you know that you're lying? Or does Orryn believe this?
This is where Devin says, he told me about them in our one-on-one chat back in Koyakuba, I thought.
Yes, he told you he made them from the Fey Anchorstone.
Yeah, to fix his brother.
But he doesn't know for sure what they'll do. He only knows the intention he made them with. So would this change what you say to Gran, or is it enough confidence for Orryn to make this play?
So I went back and watched the video of us talking, AJ, and I've just said I double-checked, and the way that Vane framed it, Orryn definitely thinks that this is more of a sure thing than it apparently is. Orryn thinks that Vane cracked it, and that's what those arrows definitely do. And Devin learned this now, but I'm not changing it for Orryn. So Orryn is like, yep, this is the thing that we have. That's how it works.
Now I'm gonna have to go watch it because I didn't think Vane stated it in such clear terms. I thought
It wasn't in clear terms, but it was in a way that I think it's reasonable for Orryn to have interpreted that. Like,
okay.
Oh, cool,
Gotcha.
We got this one figured out.
Cracked it.
All right. Anyway, so we'll assume you're offering this to Gran because it's what Orryn believes. And Gran says,
I could see a future where I decide that's what I most want. But I will determine the nature and timing of the debt's repayment.
Diley stares at Orryn for a long moment before she relays this.
Fair enough. We'll need to discuss, obviously. Final question. Would you be sending us back or just helping me control my spell to keep us together?
Oh, without giving all my secrets away, I would be connecting you to something you need on the other side. It would be your spell, their anchor, and my guidance.
Diley relays that, then pauses to consider. Could you control where it sends us?
Orryn in his head. That's a question for Gran. On my own, no.
I was asking Gran.
Oh, right. Orryn turns back to the plants. Wait, their anchor? Whose?
Gran.
Oh, I thought there's another Orryn line there though.
I flipped him. Sorry.
Oh, okay. No, I don't have the power of my own like that. My power is my connection to the items and people I've crossed paths with over the many, many years. The anchor belongs to a mutual friend. You'll be safe. You'll be together.
Tyler takes a deep breath. Could you tell us where? The vicinity, at least? It's kind of important.
I one I is the implication here that Gran knows Winter?
That's what I just posted in the chat. That's what.
Maybe
Mm,
so. I
juicy.
also misread that line this entire time, so listen.
We'll come back to this.
Yeah.
Gran sounds sincerely apologetic.
That I cannot see. I would tell you if I could.
She can't say where we'd be, only that we'd be together.
Well, what do you think? Worst case scenario, the price is too steep, at which point it just costs my life.
You mean if you don't do it, she kills you?
Yeah, but that's the cost me my life part.
Are you sure you'd be willing to do that if it came to it?
He looks back at the plants. Hopefully, she'll be reasonable and it won't come to that, but it's kind of what we do. Offer our life to stop bad things, so if she wants a bad thing, it's just another day on the job.
Dilute stares at the wall. Then, maybe. If we're going, we need to find a way to leave a message for the others. And I don't feel all that good about leaving Epic untouched. She swivels to stare at a random bunch of plants. How about him? You know anything about what he's doing here or how to stop it?
I wouldn't know where to begin. I've no resources where you are.
Dilute shakes her head. Okay, no. She looks over at Orryn. We should go somewhere safe and figure out what we're going to do.
One last thing, magic question. This ring, if it's destroyed, do you know what would happen to the soul inside it?
Well, normally, I would say they would die. But you've been through the looking glass now. What do you think will happen?
Dilute relays that, frowning.
Well, I worried they'd stay here and be freed from the thing holding them back, but I'd hope that the soul is here because it's half in and out, and destroying the thing keeping it half in would force it to move on to whatever comes next, assuming there's a place for dead things besides here.
Some of the plants shift slightly as if Gran shrugs.
I never got far hoping for how things should work, especially not magical artifacts. But your guess is as good as mine, dearie.
Dilute relays that.
Fair enough. He looks to Dilute. Any other questions, or should we be on our way?
Do you know how time works here? Dilute scratches her head. Or like, why we can't rest here?
I've never been to the Shadowfell myself. I can't speak to time. As for rest, I would imagine that it's not made for you. You can't quench your thirst with mud, or sate your hunger with mist.
I don't really understand that, but I'm pretty sure I hate it. Dilute starts towards the door, then pauses and says stiffly, "Thank you for the answers."
Orryn looks to Gran. We may be back. As always, thank you so much for your time. You have been wonderfully enlightening. He gives a very slight nod/bow and follows Dilute.
Any time, my little loves. I'll keep a kettle on.
Dilute will head back towards the compound after rolling her eyes at Orryn and Gran's last exchange, still being careful and slow to avoid detection. Then I got Althan and Epic confused, and then we confirmed that the only interesting smoke place we knew of in the city was the hotel, where Epic was.
Right. It's another few hours of city travel to safely get to the hotel. When you arrive, you see the hotel much as you remember, though the front facade feels like it may be leaning towards you into the street, giving you a bit of vertigo as you approach. Their grand double door. Jared.
I
Their
think it's
grand
the.
double. Is it the? Yes. I was wondering if it was their like possessive, or yeah, it's
I think
fine.
it's supposed to be there are
The
grand. Oh no, it's just
no.
wow. Yeah,
Yep.
never mind. Sorry.
The
I'm pretty sure
grand
it's the.
double door to the lobby is broken open. You can see movement in some of the windows.
Looks like something may already be here. Still want to risk it?
Worth a look. I'm curious why they're here. Tyler glances up. I could climb in if you remember which room it was. Still might wind up drawing attention, but a lot less than going in the front.
All right, I'm ready to run if you are. Orryn leads Dilue to the correct spot, and as they get closer, tries to get a better look at what's moving inside.
Yeah, you can remember. You can remember which. Oh, okay. You can remember which window and make your way towards it. You're able to position yourself underneath it. You'd have to climb up a floor to reach it, but it looks doable. Inside, you continue to see shadows pass by the windows, but you're unable to tell what shape they belong to. At one point, you hear glass break inside.
If we get split up, try to meet me at that building over there. Dilo indicates a building a few blocks away, one that would be possible to grapple to another building from. If you can't, head for Althan's compound and get yourself inside. And keep it down.
That's just what I was about to say. If we end up running and you can move faster without me, do it. I can teleport.
She nods, then climbs up to Epic's room, trying to take a peek into the window before she goes inside.
Orryn messages to Dilue. You have enough mind reading charges left for it to be worth checking inside?
In message. Worth a try, thanks. She'll use the pendant to do a quick scan inside before she pokes her head out. If the window's locked, she does have thieves' tools, although it's worth noting she isn't proficient with them.
The window is thankfully not locked. As for thoughts nearby, you only hear the usual chorus of emotions that you've been picking up from the shadows since you got here. You can move safely into the room.
In she goes.
The hotel room looks to be in the state of a standard guest in the middle of a long stay. The bed is unmade, a few towels and dirty clothes hang on furniture. There is a desk where a small traveling bag has been placed. The red luggage is the kind you would expect to take with you for a short leisurely trip. It's hanging open, and you can see a few more sets of clothes sit inside. There's no one in the room, and you don't immediately hear anyone outside in the hallway. The only door would lead to the shared areas of the hotel.
It takes a minute to search through the luggage, though. She's prepared to grab it and hop out the window if she hears anyone approach.
The luggage appears to only contain standard clothing, perhaps appropriate for a successful merchant or a very minor noble. Despite finding nothing useful in the bag, you feel a little instinct to take it with you when you leave the hotel.
Definitely Dahlia would take it, if only for the change of clothes. She has a look around, poking through the desk and under the bed. If nothing presents itself, she'll take the luggage and carry it back down the way she came.
I messaged to Dilue where I found the disguise kit and stuff last time we were there. Um, if it was somewhere hidden away, because I couldn't remember. Yeah.
We'll say, yep, it was in a closet. Unfortunately, Dilue finds nothing similar in her search. The closet is bare, the desk contains only a complimentary hotel inkwell and quill, and under the bed has only dust.
She takes the inkwell, then heads back down the street to meet Orryn with the luggage. To the street. Found myself something nice to wear, she drawls, and I've kind of got a feeling it could be important.
Then it probably is.
Back to the safe house? There's something else I'd like to check there.
Let's go. I've got some stuff to talk about when we aren't sneaking, too.
You make it safely back to your safe house in Althan's Tower. The city continues to teem with dangerous creatures and menacing shadows, so the travel has taken you much longer. You get the sense it's been nearly a full day since you left Kincaid's. Weariness is beginning to tug at both of you again.
That ties in with the thing Diley wanted to investigate. She wants to see if she can estimate how long they were asleep based on how much they ate from the stores. It would be very approximate, but maybe enough to tell if it was on the level of days or weeks.
After some rough calculations, and you're making some educated guesses here because the beginning of that rest is basically a blur, you would guess you slept somewhere between 4 and 8 days.
Holy shit.
Honestly, I was kind of scared we'd been out for a year or something, but then I figured we'd have run out of cheese at some point. So, let's say it's a week if we need to bunker down and actually sleep again.
Yeah. Glass half full take, but yeah.
Definitely makes it feel risky to stay here for much longer. I'm amazed we got away with that once.
Personally, I think it may be time to do what we have to do here quick and then bamf ourselves to the prime material before we can go back into cheese hibernation. Especially now that we know where we are. We can aim back here specifically with the whole group to deal with Epic later if we need to.
She half smiles. You might not be wrong about that. We've got some intel, some good books, his soul in a ring. That's a lot to bring back.
And now we have a way to stay together.
I do think there's a few things we need to worry about, though. The largest of which is finding some way to warn the others and tell them where we went if they do manage to follow us here. Biggest thing I'd want them to know is to get out as quick as possible.
And I asked how long it would take to get from here to Kincaid's and then back to Grand's.
Close to another full day if you're trying to move safely.
Then does it feel like we can do that before passing out again?
Yeah, you stayed awake that long the first time, you'll just be pushing the exhaustion up.
I say we leave some notes at Kincaid's, brief description of the situation. Tell them we left safe and point them to Grand's. If I remembered that library, I'm sure Vayner and I would too.
Ain't a bad idea, but I had a thought for one other thing. She kind of grins. It might be crazy, but I think I've got everything I need here to sew a big flag and hang it out the tower window. This place is visible from pretty far away, and I think whatever we left here would have a decent chance of being undisturbed, at least by Epic. Mind you, we might as well leave something at the library too. We should point them there no matter what.
I like that. But yeah, we should leave the same note here because if Vane can get his hands on that library with some notes about what I found already, oh boy. Like, get out, but if it's not too much trouble, go here and do some research.
Agreed. She starts pulling a sheet off a nearby piece of furniture. Imagine how happy he'd be to see a Frost Daggers flag already flying in the Shadowfell.
Orryn smiles real big. Yeah, he's really gonna love this, and he gets to writing.
Althan's house, property of the Frost Daggers. Hey, if you've got more of that glue, we could use it to make sure the flag don't fall down.
That is the most unnecessary, wasteful, stupid idea for a use of such a powerful magical item. I love it, and he hands her the vial. Only use an ounce, though. We'll still need it for something actually important in the future.
She smirks and takes it. Why don't you take a look at that luggage? Maybe there's something magic about it. Don't harm a thread of those clothes, though. I could really stand to put on something clean.
Of course, milady, wouldn't dream of soiling your good silks. And he does a deep bow and smiles. Orryn goes over and looks at the luggage more closely.
So, side question, because I know nothing about sewing, but making a flag sounds like a big project. What exactly are you planning?
I explain a rough guesstimate, but also don't know. And Dilo's plan would be to cut corners by doing this quite sloppily, cutting a very large rectangle out of a sheet, then cutting out the rough shapes of the Frost Daggers emblem in a sheet of a different color, or staining something with the ink, if need be, and sewing them on.
There's another Jared line.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm just keeping
But
stuff together.
yeah, I figured it would be easier for a listener to follow if it was more split up. Anyway, we're trusting Diley's estimate or Scout's estimate on how long this would take, as long as you take into account that Diley is tired. Orryn, investigating the luggage by hand, you don't notice anything special about it. You get a feeling that you should not leave this luggage behind when you leave the tower.
This luggage is just luggage as far as I can tell, but I agree, it feels important. Maybe cursed to make you want to carry it around all the time. It may be a trick, or it may actually be important. Epic could have known we were heading there, after all.
Blah, 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 blah. Stuff. I guess this is vaguely relevant, actually. Dilo's assumption is it could easily take a long time, but Dilo's going to try to do it faster by making something pretty ugly and rough, anchoring the emblem pieces of flag without stitching all the way around the edges, etc. She's going to try to do this in about 6 hours.
Orryn will try and help with whatever he can after the letters are finished.
Yeah, clarified this is junior hand sewing quality work. And that it is just going to look like a Jolly Roger from a distance, but that's already how it looks. So, well, that could be. At the very least, we can fill the luggage up with some more books. She gets to work drawing a very rough pattern for the emblem and cutting up some sheets. I'm not sure if my mamas would be proud or even more embarrassed than usual. On the upside, our little girl's alive after all. On the other hand, her sewing looks like shit, and that ain't how we raised her, blah, 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 blah.
I'm sure they'd be proud. Did you fake your death and run away? Yes. Are you a pirate, kind of? Are you a pirate? Kind of. Did you almost die countless times? Absolutely. But you also are saving the world, and you tailored a damn fine gnome's jacket, and that has to count for something. Plus, you're not just a pirate, you're a pirate captain, so, yeah.
Are you kidding me? Mama Satha ever caught sight of those seams in your jacket, she would die of shame. She snorts. I do hope I get to tell them about that someday.
Oh, you will. There's no way I'm letting you die before you introduce me to what sounds like the two fiercest ladies south of the Northern Sea, present company excluded, of course.
Fierce is one word for it. Just don't say I didn't warn you.
Noted. All right, here's the letter. What do you think? Frost Daggers. I hope you never read this, and that we find you before you come searching. But, in case you are, this should help. If you don't know already, you are in the Shadowfell. Dilue and I got stuck here when the amulet misfired during the fight. We are okay. Things are rough at the start, but we figured our way out. Important things to know. Epic is here, and is most likely pissed. He offered us a deal to save us. He offered us a deal to help us leave, but the price was higher than we were willing to pay. Don't trust him, and probably don't even fight him. He is siphoning energy from the god corpse in the sky, assuming it's still there. Number 2, you can't rest here. Something about the way this place works. We tried to sleep normally a few times and did nothing. After a few days, we passed out from exhaustion. Best we can figure, we were unconscious for around about a week. That did the trick, and we woke up rested, but know that that's what you're getting into. Number 3, monsters don't seem to like Alphen's Tower. We use it as a safe house, so you should be able to hole up there. Hopefully that hasn't changed by the time you're here, so be careful and make no assumptions. Number 4, Kincaid's library is intact here somehow. If you have time and it is safe, research what you can about Echo. Here's as far as I got. Insert highlights of Orryn's research. So start with other sections if you decide to get into it. Number 5, find Grand. She helped us leave, and she may be able to help you too. Vane, if you still have those arrows, see if she'd let you try and change her back to nullify my deal. If not, no worries. Oh, and be polite to her. She is a Diane Vine.
Giant,
That's what it is.
maybe?
Thank you. Yeah, I did all of this on my phone. She is a giant vine bush right now, and if you make her grumpy, she may not respond. Actually, we can only talk to her with magic telepathy. Telepathy, so you may have a hard time. But know that the giant vine bush is in her shop, is her, and she can hear and understand you, so do with that what you will. Number 6, super minor, but will save you some wasted time trying to figure it out. The shadows don't talk back. Best we can tell, they appear to be the souls of people turned. Anything that's not alive, but not fully dead. Number 7, if you have Lave and Riffraff, tell them hi, and we miss them. If you don't have them, well, that's pretty bad. Please keep an eye out and grab them if you see them. Grant is going to focus my banishment spell to get us home together. I don't know where we're going to be, but we will stay with each other. Sorry, I lost track of that. I don't know where we're going, but we will stay with each other, so we've got that. Wish us luck. See you soon. Lots of love, Dilue and Orryn, XOXO.
Serviceable. Dilue reads it over a few times. What's this about Vane's arrowheads?
Oh, yeah, we haven't really gone over that with everyone. Kind of forgot. Vane was able to turn a fat anchor stone into a set of arrowheads that should reverse the effects of the plant people stuff. One is saved for his brother Lenny, which I spelled wrong here.
You mean Leno?
Leno, yeah.
One is saved for his brother Lenny. He was in Vox when the whole thing went down. The other 2 are for whoever we think needs the most. Or I should say, however many are needed to fix him are saved for Lenny. Then we talk about what's left.
Dilue slow blinks at him. Were you planning on sharing this with the rest of us?
Yeah, I wasn't hiding it. Honestly, there's just been so much unrelated shit between me finding out and right now that I didn't know you didn't know. The whole thing kind of got tabled till we got on the water, and then things immediately took a left turn.
Seems kind of important. She keeps sewing, but her attention is very clearly still on this. He's got 3? Just 3?
Yep. Well, as far as we're concerned, too. Vane would get annoyed, or Vane would gut any one of us in a second if we tried to keep an arrow away from his brother, and I'd help him. His whole life is that boy. But the remaining ones he was very open to sharing with the group, whoever we thought needed the most. Did you have someone in mind?
She turns a sharp look on him. No, I had a lot of people in mind. But you can sure as hell bet that if I had to choose, someone partially responsible for killing all these people would not be high on the list.
Well, me neither, but if it meant us leaving here and me not dying, it seemed like it was not the worst use. Mainly, I was feeling out her stance on the subject. Plus, if anyone could get a replacement anchor stone to make more, it's grand, but probably not as a plant.
Frankly, if we have 3 magic arrowheads or whatever that can save people from all this, there's no right choice except figuring out how we turn that into a way to save a lot more of them. As many as we possibly can. Her voice is very tight. Think, Orryn. 6 of us like each other pretty well, all things considered. But do you really think we'd survive trying to agree on the 3 people in all of Vox and Kronos who needed it most?
No. Maybe why Vane only shared it with me. And Vane has been doing a lot of work on them. He knows how to make more and what we need to do it. He just doesn't have the right... He doesn't have that right now and was able to make through with what he had. It's weird to me that you're angry about this.
I do know why people keep secrets, Orryn. If he knew he had everything he needed to make 50,000 arrowheads and bring all these people back, he wouldn't have hesitated to tell the rest of us. I've heard the way he talks about his brother, and I'm sure he'd lose it if someone told him Lenny wasn't important enough to save. So I'm sure he wanted to make sure Lenny got his shot. I'm not angry that he thought of his brother first. She chews on her lip. I'm concerned, to say the least, that you kept this quiet instead of thinking that if we have this power, we need to find a way to multiply it, not start rationing it out. A lot of people here have brothers.
Wait, hold on. I just processed what you said. Read incorrectly above and is folding that into canon. Yes, we would survive fighting it out, and yes, we would be able to agree on how to use the other 2 arrows. That's an absurd concern. And honestly, I'm offended that you think this group wouldn't give those arrows to you or anyone else in the Frost Daggers if we have family to save. You think Vane wouldn't help you in a second? He wouldn't even stop to think. Don't you dare say otherwise, Dilue.
She gives him a sideways look. Now who's angry?
Me. We're more than that. Vane's been studying those stupid rocks in that stupid book nonstop to do exactly what you're talking about. And maybe he waited to say something until he has something to say. And if this is how you react to objectively good news, then maybe he was right to do so.
Calm down, Orryn, she drawls. I'm not trying to impugn Vane's honor. I know he's a good man. Though don't you dare tell him I said that. She bites off a thread and keeps sewing. But as for thinking we'd survive figuring that out, it's nothing to do with us being good people or caring for each other or not. It's numbers. Of course we wouldn't hesitate to save each other's families. If we had enough to go around. From what you've told me, we don't. How much do you relish the idea of one of us having to pick between parents or friends? Hell, Vane would know that best of all. His whole family was in Vox, not just his little brother. It'd be awfully kind of him to agree to sacrifice them so someone else could save someone they cared about. But I don't want to ask him to do that. Do you?
I did. He said yes. He has one for his brother, and the others are for others. He knows what he has and that people need help. I have no one there. Benaya has no one there. Sato has no one there. Do you? Or the same? Because I guarantee you, if you do, that's where those arrows are going. Screw Gran.
Well, that sort of depends on if my mamas are still alive by the time we get back to Sussex. I'll tell you this, though. If I tried to bring back one of them and not the other, they would both kill me, one in person and one again as a ghost. I've also got friends, neighbors. Hell, I've got my mama's workers, people down at the market, the clients. They might not all be my favorites, but they are all my life, or they were. She doesn't look up from her work. And maybe all my people are fine. But if they weren't, I couldn't tell you which 2 of them deserved most to live, or even which 100. This whole city is dead. We could have 1,000 arrowheads, and you'd still be asking people to make choices that would tear them in half. You remember that the daggers are probably all dead, right? Every one of the companions Thane and I fought beside the last few years, good people who fought smokework till it killed them, maybe all gone.
Listen, we're going to do what we can to save as many as we can, but for now, we get 2. We will try to make more. It was never going to be a fun choice, but it's better than nobody coming back. I just know if you have 2 people that you needed to turn back from plant people, we would do it. I know Thane wouldn't hesitate. None of us would.
I would. Because the idea of bringing back 1 person into this hell is almost as bad as leaving them. Her voice raises slightly. You keep on saying you'd give up the arrowheads for me to bring back someone I cared about, but here's the part you're not answering. What if there's more than 2? Actually, that ain't theoretical at all. You already asked Thane to give up his loved ones so the rest of us could have our share. Are you fucking kidding me? How could I bring back my own mama if it meant keeping him from his? How could I do that to anyone?
I mean, I didn't actually ask. He offered before it came up, but yeah, I get your point. It sucks. But I think it just feels like a lot of your anger is coming at me for some reason here, when maybe you're just angry at a shitty situation that I would desperately like to help make better with you. And I think arguing on it more in this place is only going to tire us out faster. His voice softens a lot for that last paragraph, which Devin forgot to read it as, but change it in your head.
Will you quit pretending I'm over here raving while you sit by being the voice of reason? Her face is pretty well blank of emotion again. Yes, I am angry. Turns out people get annoyed sometimes when you keep secrets. Only I promised you that if Thane and I had known this, we would have told you.
I told you this wasn't a secret I was keeping. I legitimately forgot we had plant people turning arrows while I was dealing with the visions from and then murder of God, followed by the military coup we led that was topped off by teleportation to the Shadowfell. If it was something I was hiding, why would I have told you about all of this just now, or mentioned it so casually in front of you? I made a mistake, but that's different than keeping a secret. I honestly don't think I have any secrets from you, Dilue, not one. If you think I do, ask me now. I have no problem sharing. I trust you, okay?
Sure, she says. It really eats you up when you can't talk your way out of something, doesn't it? She says it's like it's a mild observation and then goes on sewing. You probably shouldn't tell him to use the arrowhead on Gran. And take out the part about the shadows not talking back. They do. They just don't say much. Mostly the names of people they cared about. And I think we could probably all stand to listen to them. Oops.
Suit yourself. Don't trust me if it makes you feel better, but that was the truth. He reads back over the paper. Good point on the revisions. He sets his letter aside and gets a fresh piece of paper. There's something else I want to talk to you about before this wild ride of a conversation happened. I was just wondering if you would do me a favor.
Anything for you, Orryn.
I asked Tyler about the sarcasm of that comment.
Very fair.
About a 3, said in sort of a bless your heart tone, as of a southern lady sipping sweet tea on her porch while observing someone being a dipshit.
He's a little sheepish about it as he asks, would you be willing at all, or would you be at all willing to teach me that secret code language you and Thane and Sato know? Just feels like we spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to say things to each other so others won't know, and meanwhile I don't. And meanwhile, you know an actual secret language. I know it's y'all's thing, but it just seems like it would save us a lot of time and worry in the future if we could all do it.
At this point, I texted Devin. I texted Devin the interesting strategy, Cotton. Let's see how this works out for him. Dilue raises her eyebrows and smiles disbelievingly down at her sewing. She's having a rare moment of channeling her soft-spoken silent killer mom instead of her loud angry mom, and is kind of enjoying it. Huh, she says. Well, it's an interesting idea. And I am happy to think that you think there's some sort of reason why me and Thane do things the way we do. But it ain't quick to learn. You'd probably need a year or so. She starts sewing on a new patch. And it would make it so much harder for me and Thane to keep secrets from you.
So win-win then, he smiles. And I expect it'll take a while, but we can start with small things like danger or message me and stuff like that. So is that a yes or a devastating no?
It's you sit quietly and think about all the trust and understanding needed for two people to share a secret code. We may as well put it all off for later. I'd have to see how Thane felt about it.
Well, I have. So when you decide that you trust me as much as I trust you, let me know and we can get started. And he goes back to writing the letter out twice, once for the library and once for Alphonse.
Dilue, taking a break from sewing, also writes up a small extra set of papers addressed to Thane, which she adds to the general bunch. The letter, like the last letter she gave Orryn, covers a bunch of roguey strategic things like where to grapple from and which windows to climb in, etc. It's in Thieves' Cant. I'm actually going to read the Thieves' Cant thing because I have that. Somewhere. 1 second. Boy, I have a lot of things in my Google Drive that contain the words Frost Daggers. Okay. A separate sheet of paper, tucked between the others, is addressed to Thane. It's a detailed and somewhat long-winded tactical description of various areas and bits of knowledge Dilue utilized while in this version of Chronos, including a warning to avoid Barnabas Reverine's estate because Epic is currently using it as its seat of power, another warning that Epic can read minds, at least within the estate and in an unknown radius outside of it, and around a ring, I guess. A description of the patrols surrounding Althan's tower, which are essentially random and avoidable, a recommendation to enter said tower by grappling over the walls, estimated distances between important landmarks, and a note that it's possible to communicate with the shadows and the dead god in a very limited capacity by reaching out to them in the same way they communicate with their weapons. At the end, she wishes Thane and the others well. All of the above is written in common. In Thieves' Cant, Sato, if you're reading this, please hand it over to Thane. It's personal, just a lot of feelings and stuff. Love, Dilue. P.S. Hope you're doing all right. See, she learned from the last one. Immediately below this, still in Thieves' Cant, is a very sad, very melodramatic, personal-seeming paragraph addressed to Thane about how much she misses him and the good old days, and how she's been crying herself to sleep every single night as she dreams of the day they'll be side by side again.
Oh.
In the last line of this paragraph, she asks him to please not let anyone else read this because she would be so embarrassed and so upset if anyone else were to keep reading. The remaining paragraphs are written in a very different tone. I found them in the place you'd expect them to be. Orryn doesn't know this. If you go to them, please be careful and stay out of sight. Orryn said that Vane has 3 arrowheads that can bring people back from being turned into the plant creatures. I think we need to figure out how to multiply that. Too many dead. I told them you're safe. They love you. I miss you like hell, Biscuit. Be safe and stay with the others. I'll see you soon if I have anything to do with it. From Dilue. P.S. Don't make a deal with Gran unless you have no other choice. Last time Orryn owed her a favor, she put him to work for Smoker.
Aw.
Just making sure that he knows things. I have to.
During the continuation of that, there's also an addition made to the letter of P.S. In Althan's tower, there's a room with some soldiers in it, kind of. Anyways, be polite until the fireball hits, then use the stairs before they rest. The fireball won't hurt, but their arrows do. P.P.S. We're going to try and find you, but we have no idea. We're going to try and find you, but we have no idea where we are going to be spit out. If you don't hear from us after a few weeks, meet us on the east coast of Rodan near Ogrehead.
Totally would have worked out. Really quick, I have to wrestle a cat, so I'm going to pause on this really accurate GIF that
Love it.
put here.
Very good.
Also, seeing Jared's next message. Oh, I guess we're not there yet, but I was also looking at that.
Oh, yeah. This was one of the nights that Devin and I just sort of lost our minds.
Yeah, we RP'd that argument back and forth till 2 o'clock in the morning.
Interspersed with us texting each other deep analyses of why our characters were behaving in this way, which are all fascinating. Yeah, all right, let's roll.
Right. Yes, 6 hours later, you have the flag. Are you using another ounce of glue to hang it up? You could certainly find mundane means to do so.
Dilue is entirely committed to permagluing an enormous, ugly Frost Daggers flag to the side of Althen's house in the Shadowfell. But she would also use mundane means, just to double down, and reduce the strain on the glued section. She would drape it out the window on the top floor, attempting to get past the soldiers by waiting till they get fireballed and then climbing up the red stairs, and attempt to position it on the side facing Epic's compound. And then apply the glue and ropes, etc. Just so I don't forget on the way down, she'd also tell Orryn to warn them about the soldiers in the letter. Hey!
And yeah, he adds a PS that we talked about.
Assuming it's a decent enough fit, Diley would swap out her grungy clothes for a fresh set from the luggage. Then she'd pack up as much of the meat and cheese as possible, and some thread and needles from the servant supplies.
Orryn, when she's done, grabs the luggage to show Gran.
From what Diley's seen of the house, is there any sort of waterproof covering she could scavenge? She's thinking about the fact that she, at least, does not have a tent. And as far as we knew, there was a permastorm everywhere at the time. Oh yeah, that luggage is coming to the prime material plane full of books if we can swing it.
Orryn would also drag a table into the center of the room so the letter can be left as conspicuously as possible.
For waterproof materials, there's a tarp among the workers' materials on the floor below your hideout. You're not positive how waterproof it is, but it's probably your best bet. You could travel with it. You do also find a nice outfit among the luggage's contents to be a nice replacement to your current clothes, at least in terms of cleanliness, though they're not a perfect fit. With that done, is it on to Kincaid's?
Diley takes the tarp and rolls up her cuffs as best she can and is ready to head out the usual way, keeping to the shadows. And I just quickly and confusingly clarified that the clothes are not the same size as Epic, and don't seem to be his. Oh, wait, Diley says. In the letter, we should probably tell them where we plan on meeting up with them.
Where do we plan on meeting up with them?
I still think we'd have a hell of a time getting to the Dizzy Mother if we wind up on land, and we know we need to get to Box, so east coast of Rodan. We can.
I mean, maybe, but we have no idea where we're going to pop out.
Sure, but isn't it better to have a rallying point where we can at least try to meet up? That way we'll know where they'll be if we can't make it and we need to send a message.
Orryn nods and amends the letter, adding the meet us near the east coast of Roden near Ogrehead.
And then we beat Badell.
Several hours of careful travel later, you arrive at Kincaid's. One thing you notice as you travel is that the creatures of this world have taken note of your flag. More than one group of zombies and shadows is standing, staring at the tower, perhaps with curiosity, though it doesn't appear to be drawing them in. Weariness continues to build in your muscles as you start to push your bodies past their reserves of energy.
Hey, I'm sure that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Forgot about that.
I didn't even think about it. I was like, cool, they like the flag, but yeah.
Like, oh, that's weird. Diley and Orryn cannot be unsupervised. We have to have Vane there in the future. We can't
Vane could
live.
It would not have stopped this.
It would have changed nothing. We would have been talked at while doing these horrible things.
It would have been a bigger flag.
Yeah. Hopefully at some point he would have killed us to make it stop. Dilue, upon seeing this group of zombies and shadows staring at the tower and the flag they just left, instead of being concerned in any way, goes, well, I guess that would probably make Vane happy too.
Orryn places the letter at the table he used to read and starts grabbing books from the historical records area of the library. However many will fit in the luggage and on their person. He still has the book that followed up his research that he hasn't read yet on him as well.
Diley would let Orryn choose the books while she keeps an eye on the street outside. As soon as he's done, she takes a deep breath and nods towards the door. Ready to go?
He just nods and heads out.
To Gran's.
Assuming you removed the rest of the clothes, you can fit 12 books in the luggage. It's pretty heavy now, but you can carry it. Your travel back to Grand's takes you the remainder of the day. You would guess it's been a little over 24 hours since you last stood in her stall. Your bodies feel just about ready to give out as you arrive.
Dilue squirrels away another set of clothing in her pack and then will carry the luggage. She is definitely looking pretty ragged, but relieved as they reach the shop. She casts Detect Thoughts. Gran?
Welcome back, little ones. That is a very smart outfit. And all packed, I see?
Sure are, Dilue says flatly, having just remembered the part of this plan that she hates. All packed. Before we get started, you have any idea what we've got here? She indicates the luggage.
Those clothes aren't cursed, are they? Probably shouldn't have thought about that but also, Dyla, you should probably start double checking before you put on strange clothes you find.
I told you to see if it was magic, didn't I? If I'm cursed, it's your fault.
Yeah, sure it is.
Gran takes a moment.
That's a very fine bag. Make sure you take it with you.
She goes on.
No curse on the clothes, dearie.
Well, Orryn, it's your lucky day. No curse. And a fine bag. Dilute glances down at it suspiciously. When you say fine, is it cursed?
Yeah, my lucky day, he chuckles. Not the person who would have gone 2 for 2 with cursed shirts.
No, not cursed, not enchanted. But objects here are never exactly normal. So, what is there left to do? Any more goodbyes to say before we get started?
I'm ready if you are, Orryn says, which I didn't mark here, but towards the plant.
Dilute takes a deep breath, because Scout thought that this was directed at Dilute, and reaches for Orryn's hand, tucking the luggage under her arm as best she can. Yeah, me too.
Do I just cast and you take care of the rest, or do I need to do something special?
It will require just a little preparation. I've spent the last few hours freeing up this spare wood for you.
And you notice now that indeed one of the crates in her shop has been freed from the vines.
It was a very pleasant victory for me. Now, take that box apart. Break it down neatly into planks, if you will. And don't lose the nails.
Dilute has her most I hate magic face on, but she glances at Orryn and goes over to the box to start breaking it down.
Orryn walks over and begins following along. Knowing that it's not just him casting the spell, Orryn is also trying to keep an eye on what they set up and if things look arcanely different from what he would expect them to do.
Once you have the box broken down into planks and nails, Gran begins giving you instructions on how to arrange them. She's very specific and corrects you more than once as you try to follow along. She's clearly guiding you into building some kind of circle large enough that the two of you could stand inside it.
Orryn continues following along.
Dilute keeps her eyes on Orryn for approval, but continues following the instructions as well.
It takes a frustrating hour because you have to communicate via Dilu's spell, and you're both getting a little loopy from the lack of sleep. Finally, Gran says,
That will be good enough.
and instructs you to step inside.
Dilute is definitely looking pretty woozy and tired, but once again gathers up the luggage and grabs for Orryn's hand, which I imagine involves her going down on one knee. Fuck, she mumbles. Okay, Orryn, look good.
Orryn watches Dilute step into the circle and pauses for a moment. When nothing happens to her, he nods and says, okay, good. And then assuming everything looks like it lines up with teleportation or doesn't have it, or doesn't look otherwise off, he would also step into the circle. What does Gran say is next?
Just cast your spell from inside the circle, dearie, and be sure to get both of you in it.
Dilue relays that and adds, I do trust you, you know.
He double checks they're both fully in the circle. Well, I guess you'd have to at least a little to try this. All right. Thanks again, Graham. I guess I'll be seeing you. Dilue, close your eyes and hold on. Orryn casts banishment at a high enough level for both of them to be caught into it.
Dilue squeezes her eyes shut and holds onto his hand very, very hard.
Stopping this thread here. No more posts.
And that's when we confirmed that we still aren't leveled up.
Aw.
Hilarious.
Jared wanted us to think we were still gonna die.
Does anyone want to say anything before I end the recording?
I want to say something after you end the recording.
Ooh.
Wow.
That's going to be where I cut this.